PJNet Live Part 2, and we are streaming live on 4 platforms. We have a bumper rolling, we have a beautiful background waiting, we have Pauline in our green room, we are recording, and we will switch to Studio 6 in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Well, welcome back to PJNet Live as we begin the second half. I know that you enjoyed the first half with Ken Edwards. If you missed out on that, well, you can catch it on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and a lot of places. Just hang around. Now, normally, I know everybody is here to see J.D. Winninger. You are not going to see J.D. Winninger tonight. However, J.D. has asked me specifically to let you know that he misses being here and that he is in fact praying for each one of you that are in the chat room. You know the crowd. It's family. He asked me to say that, and he'll be catching, of course, the anyway. Now he has handpicked his stand-in tonight, and he introduced her a little bit last week, but I would like to introduce Pauline Hylton to the PJNet Live studio for the very first time. In fact, the background image that you just saw, she sent me. That's not even your property, is it?
Nope, we just look out over it.
You look at, well, that now
from our porch. It's beautiful.
The story I got on you goes to the effect that you and your husband were operating a charter fishing operation out of Clearwater, Florida. Now, I love charter fishing. I try to tell people that's not the party boat, okay? No. When you charter this thing, you own the captain for that many hours in the boat. And you had your own GPS coordinates. Did you ever go sink any old radio towers or anything like that out there? Well,
I'm not supposed to tell you, because then I'd have to kill you.
Okay. But the captain has this little book of GPS coordinates, you know. And you ain't touching that book. You're not seeing that book. And what really amazes me, you get out there and you get on the fish, he will see a boat coming over the horizon.
Yes.
Just headed straight for you. And he'll say, pull them up, guys. It's like, why? We're catching fish. And he'll move that boat 100 feet or 100 yards.
Yes.
Because they're trying to hijack that spot, and it's like, oh,
you must have gone fishing with us before.
I used to charter a boat twice a year for my employees. It's the best thing that it really, they look forward to that. And we went during the week, and we're consuming a lot of time on frivolous matters. But
okay, that's all right.
Okay, now I presume that you were watching too much Green Acres and it got to you, and all of a sudden you transplant yourself onto the 60-acre tobacco farm in North Carolina, right in the heart of Andy Griffith country, Mayberry, USA. Literally.
That's right. It literally is right up the street from us.
Why?
Well, there is a good reason, because I would not have chosen to move here.
Okay.
My husband, it's an old tobacco farm. It was run down. It was in his mother's family for years. And when his mother passed away, we inherited a portion of it. And so my husband was really good at what he did in charter fishing, but it was harder and harder to make money doing it. There were a lot of regulations that they were starting to put in, and so he said, we should just move there and try farming. And I'm like, over my dead body, I'm moving there, because I don't want to move to a big city. To a little city. I want to go to Starbucks, and I want to have fun and go to the mall and stuff. So, but after a little conversing and praying, and the Lord just changed my mind. So we sold everything and moved here to start organic farming, which we really knew nothing about. We YouTubed everything. We went to YouTube University.
Oh, that paragon of intellectual rigor.
Yes.
Now you need to make some YouTube videos that are actually true, authoritative.
No, I know. We've tried. I actually, Mother Earth News, I was going to maybe write something for them, but I really couldn't write anything that had really any meaning. They want people who actually know what they're doing.
So,
So
did you have any guidance whatsoever? Other than what you just mentioned?
we went to the cooperative extension. We talked to them. They
He
thought we were
probably laughed
crazy.
at you guys, yeah.
Well, mostly they laughed at us trying to do organic. A lot of people farm around here. They do big farms of soybeans, and they farm regularly. But where we live, at least at this point, there weren't, at least the point we started, there weren't a lot of organic people. It was just mostly traditional farming, and they've been doing it for decades and generations. And so we came in, and there's a lot to learn about dirt. I never knew there was so much to learn about dirt, but the dirt that was on our property was not happy. So, to try and get your dirt happy takes a long time. So we just worked ourselves literally almost to death. So, but we would still do it if we went back. We would still do it, but we would have changed a little bit about how we did it.
Now, there's a book here, and you've written it. Where did that? What was it? You just needed something to do other than farm? I thought farming was hard work, and kept you up all night.
In my 7 days a week, except for 3 hours for church, my 7 days a week, 16 hours a day. No, I kind of I kind of kept a blog, and as time went on, I just kind of put my blogs together and thought that it would be something. I found that where we live, people here aren't necessarily interested in it. Like when we were living at the old farmhouse that before we built our house where we are, we were living in my mother-in-law's. It was actually her father's farmhouse. We were living there, and we had 75 chickens at that point, and they were living right outside. I have a whole bunch of stories about chickens, but I had some ladies over from church, and I said, "Hey, you want to come out and see my chickens?" And they went, "No." Nobody was interested. They're like, "We've seen chickens, okay? We've grown up around." But people from the city, I mean, they're like, "Oh, wow, those are chickens, they have feathers. I didn't know that." So
Yeah.
anyway.
And the roosters have spurs.
Our rooster attacked me. They're deadly.
You ain't been butthurt till you get a rooster chasing you. Those things hurt, yeah.
They do. They're really aggressive.
They're pretty darn aggressive. And pigs. You got 2 pigs?
I've got
pigs?
pigs now. Thing 1 and thing 2.
They? Oh yes. I was implored to ask you. Thing 1, thing 2. Are these pets? Are you serious?
That's what their names are. Thing 1 and thing 2. And yes, we're going. I'm sorry if there's any vegans or something here listening, but we're going to eat them. And I will have no sad thing about that at all. So I don't like pigs. I mean, I like we have sheep. I have 33 sheep right now. I like the sheep. I thought I would love the chickens. I like the chickens. We had 1 cow. Well, he was a steer. JD knows what that means. Mm-hmm. I had to learn all that stuff. And I liked the steer, and I liked that, but I don't like pigs. They're scary. They're really just scary. They get really big, and you don't want to get near them because, they would eat you. Well, chickens would too, but they're just too small.
Right. I'll tell you a true story. There are chickens here. I live in a rural area.
Oh, you do? Oh,
and
yeah.
This person had freckles, and of course didn't want them, and was told that this was before the days of Google and social media and urban legend, which has exponentially grown urban legend out of proportion. But anyway, it was told that if you use the white part of chicken manure and put it on your freckles, they'll go away. So this mom sees that her child with all this chicken manure on their face and started to spank the child, but couldn't because she was laughing so hard.
Oh my goodness.
Thought you've been punished enough. Go clean up.
Yes, that's punished enough. I went to,
the freckles did not go away, and I know this is true because that child was me.
Oh, you're kidding. Oh my goodness. Well, live and learn, okay, Mark?
I had a pet chicken named Finnegan. You know,
Oh,
and laid eggs and everything. It's fun. They're cute when they're bit. Like all animals, they're so
they're
cute
so cute
when
when
they're
they're little.
biddies. And they'll
Yes.
just crawl all over you and poop all
Yeah.
over you. Right at the opportune moment. But
Yeah.
they got quite the plumbing. What is the spiritual lesson in? I mean, I'm having a lot of fun, but
Okay.
what is the
What's the
spiritual
spiritual
lesson
lesson?
in this? You wrote a book. It's a Christian book. What in the
Yes.
world is connected here?
Well, I was thinking about that because you haven't read it in a while. But it has a lot of chapters, and the chapters
Yeah.
talk about excitement, fear, change, gifts, faith, doubt, humility, isolation, despair. And then my last chapter is investing in heaven. And I think really it kind of shows, well, it shows a few things that God takes us through different things in our lives, adventures, exciting things, and sometimes it doesn't turn out like we thought. But God is faithful. And, I remember the first time we were at this church, and this young man, really wise young man, godly young man, said, you might not succeed at farming. And it really had never occurred to me that we would not succeed at farming.
The
I
odds are
thought we would.
against you. Yeah. You're trying to draw to an inside straight.
Yes. and and I because I really thought, our motives were good. I thought that we wanted to move here. Hospitality is kind of our thing. We built this house. Actually, we built this porch. It's 60 feet long and 10 foot across, so that we can have a lot of people. And because our gift is hospitality, and I really wanted to share monetarily, and I thought, well, the Lord's going to really bless us financially, and He didn't. And so, talking about chicken manure, moving to really, I mean, it's a really nice area, but I moved from a city where people are rude. I mean, you know what I mean, a city. And I moved to the country where people know everybody, and they don't have street signs. They just say you go past the gas station, and they love talking about directions too, but they never use their turn signal. But anyway, um, it was just such a cultural shock. And where I was in Florida, like, people knew me. I wrote, sometimes I wrote for the local newspapers and things like that. And when I moved here, I was just the chicken lady, and I was the lady at the farm thing. And while I was shoveling manure one day in August, um, I just said to the Lord, look at me. I'm shoveling chicken manure. And He's like, so? you know, Big
Well,
deal. And
well, yeah, the prodigal son came to that point in life too.
yes, yes, yeah, and it's just very humbling. And sometimes failing is God's plan. I mean, that's part of.
Well, I got that's part of. That's as far as I got, and then she kind of froze up. Let me check on time. We are 13 minutes in, and I don't know if she can hear me or not, but what I'm going to do, and she may kill me for this, is I am going to forcibly disconnect her and then tell her to try again. And we'll just kind of put this 60-acre thing up there. There it is. And that's not her problem. That must have been taken in the autumn. Let me send her a text to the effect of what I just did. Just here, enjoy some PJNet propaganda for. Oh, wait a minute. I see her back, and there she is. Yeah. Okay, I know the problem. Just hang. Okay, just hang. Oh, I see. She is not froze up. My software is. Okay, just give me a second. Boom, 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 boom. Okay. Okay, there we go. I think I have control again. And oops, she went. Oh no, she's there. She's there. Or maybe. We will see. And there you go. Pauline, you were shoveling. I don't know what happened, but we were
I
shoveling.
don't know. I was
And
shuffling.
in August, and you were reflecting back that people don't turn on their blinker. That's kind of where we
Yes.
left off, and we'll
Okay.
you can
Yes.
if you can remember
I
where
can.
you were
I
going
can.
with
Even
that,
though
please
it's
tell
past
us.
my bedtime, I will.
I know.
That just the Lord takes us into, He takes us out of our comfort zone to teach us all kinds of lessons. And humility is a definite lesson I need to learn every day. But that He's faithful. And, He took me away from my friends in Florida. And I was really pretty isolated here. I was pretty isolated. And it takes a long time to make good friends. So, um, I keep learning, and my husband and I work together 24/7, and he's a really, like, he stays on task. He finishes it. He doesn't eat until he gets it done, and has to be absolutely perfect. And I'm like, oh, that's good enough. We're done. But he said one day when we'd been working together 24/7, and we were about ready to choke each other, um, I was crying, and I said, Tom, I know that if I were working for you right now, you would have fired me, but I would have already quit. So we learned a lot of lessons about marriage and working together, and we're still learning them. We both have jobs, and we still have the land. I mean, we have jobs that actually pay real money and get benefits, which is pretty great, let me tell you. And it's not as backbreaking, at least for me, because I work in an office. It's great, but we still have, the sheep. Um, we have some stuff around here. We have a greenhouse. We have a pasture. We have 66 acres. I mean, just mowing. Now, 66 acres, probably 15 of it is cleared, but just mowing 15 acres is like 3 days or 2 days worth of
I know.
time.
I used to mow the roughs at the golf course at the country club,
Oh,
and you
really?
start on hole one, and then when you get to hole nine, you know what? It's time to start back on one. it's
Yes, that's right. That's how
it's
that
never,
happens.
but I really today I'm just a high tech redneck. I grew up farming and pitching watermelons and
Oh, yeah.
making moonshine, and this was my first chemistry lesson. Is
Oh, yeah.
anything fermented with alcohol, the alcohol boils at 171 degrees. So if you
Oh,
heat it up to 171, the alcohol
oh.
that
I never knew that.
you
But
know
I learned that
that's how they make this stuff.
we don't want to have watermelons as a crop because it's too heavy. So
Uh,
one time
I know. Yeah, I've
we
pitched
got a
many.
yes, we got a bean planter. All right. And we did our first year here, and when we went first, we did, like, we invested like $80,000 in equipment, and or we have this great tractor. We have a orange tractor, which JD likes us in spite of our orange tractor.
Yeah.
But we have an orange tractor, and we have like $80,000, and we finally grew our first vegetables, and we drove them 10 miles to the like cooperative that we were selling to, and we were so excited, and we got a check for $5.87. I kind of went like,
Yeah, you weren't the only one taking vegetables up there. That's the problem with veggies, that once they start producing, first of all you got to
yeah,
fight the birds
yeah,
off of them, and when I
yes,
was younger, I love this because the farmers would invite us in with our 22s, and we would go out there and slaughter squirrels and crows and
oh
things of that
yeah,
sort, because they were quite a pest, and
yeah.
we never did eradicate them. They seemed, it wasn't because we were bad shots. I mean, we laid waste to a lot of crow.
Okay.
Anyway, now you ran into JD a couple of years back. How'd that go?
I was trying to remember. I don't somehow we just I don't know if he read something of mine, or I can't remember how we connected on the internet. But we've been going back and forth, and I think because I write about farming, and since he has the ranch,
Hmm.
we connected about that. And he was a city guy, and I'm still kind of a city girl. I could still live in a city and be relatively happy. So
I
a big
I
city
find
girl.
it hard to believe that JD was ever a quote city guy.
Yeah, well,
I
he's
find it
got
easier to
the
believe that
accent
you were.
down pat, let me tell you.
Well, just like an Alabama tick, he just
That's
digs in
right.
and hangs on.
But like I told me he worked in Chicago. I'm like, I don't hear any Chicago
he
accent in.
he does not typify Chicago. I've been there one
No, he
time and
doesn't.
I didn't leave anything behind, so I don't see any need to return. But anyway, um, but I'm sure the people that live there love it and probably can't understand
Yes.
why we shoot. I mean, you're from Clearwater, you will know. Florida's state bird officially is the mockingbird. It should be the
Yes.
mosquito because they're about the same
Yes.
size.
Yes.
We shoot them with low brass eights, try to
Yeah.
protect ourselves, and
Yes.
you know, we provide. Well, the trick is to be so full of the blood of Christ that the mosquitoes get saved. That's
There you go. All right, all right, all right. Well, talking about not mosquitoes, but we have these things called flea beetles that will eat your greens and all the collards and everything.
hmm
And so we read in this organic magazine that if you put beer in little cans and put it there, they'll fly into the beer and die. So we put little cans by our collards with beer in it, and I wrote in the book, I said, didn't get rid of the flea beetles, but I think I saw them joining hands and
they were
singing an
happy.
Irish.
Yeah.
Yes, they were happy flea beetles.
Well, speaking of veggies and fruit, there are a lot of persimmons grown in this area. Fruit.
Oh yeah.
And the problem with persimmons is when they ripen, the birds come, and there was
Yes.
one tree just right outside the door that when you open the door, that tree was just so full of these birds, and they would all go whoosh at the
Yeah.
same time. Well, day after day this happened, and then one day I noticed that the birds didn't go whoosh. And I thought they've become acclimated to me. They realize that I'm not going to harm them.
Right.
No, Pauline, the persimmons had fermented. They were drunk and
Oh.
could not fly. They were waddling around on the ground. They were easy. I could have picked. But
Yeah.
have you ever noticed? This is what reminds me. And if Ben Cooper were here, he would love this story. He's such a biologist and naturalist. But when birds when they have young in their nest, and if you can tell when you've approached a nest, even though you don't see the nest, because the mama bird will go fluttering around on the ground like they're injured, and lead you away from. Isn't that?
It's
And
amazing.
I just stare up at the heavens and say, God,
Yes.
you are wonderful.
Amazing.
Even
Yes.
the little bird,
Yeah.
you give them the instinct to
Yes.
lead potential danger away from.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lesson in that, for all of us, that when we see predators approaching our young, we need to defend our young. We need to protect our young. We need to protect each other. And if that means risking ourselves, well, I think the lesson from that little mama bird, she was willing to sacrifice herself for her young. There's
Yeah.
another sacrifice for us that was made about
Yes.
2,000 years ago.
Yes.
Maybe I should
Praise.
write a book. I could tell these stories
You
all
could do
day
that. Yeah.
long.
You could just
And
talk about that.
it would have to be
Uh,
ghost written, I promise you.
well, talking about uh, the what was I going to say? I'm sorry. It's
Well,
past my bedtime, Mark.
Paul,
Oh,
Pauline,
I'll
there's.
tell you what
Oh,
you want to hear a funny chicken story that
go ahead.
happened recently?
All right,
All
make
right,
it your
well,
best
all
because
right.
we got
Well,
to wrap it up. But
talking
make it good.
talking about like being around nature, and I mean that's one of the things that we saw when we started just being outside is all of the parables when Jesus uses just the things around him. And I talk about that unless a seed falls into the ground and dies, it doesn't bear fruit. And I think that's an application for us is that we can't really serve the Lord when it's about us. And so I have to learn that every day. But I just want to tell you um, a funny chicken story, and then I'll get off. So we bought these dogs to guard our chickens. They're called livestock guardian dogs. They're beautiful dogs. Actually, one is sleeping on the floor over there. It's a Great Pyrenees. And it was two sisters. and we had the chickens next to them because they were puppies. You have to train them, but they do guard livestock. And it was a really cold day in January, and we were trying to figure this whole farming thing out, and it was almost getting discouraging. And we went out there. It was my husband's birthday, and we look, and the dogs are sitting there wagging their tails, and there's all these feathers in their mouths, and we're like, what happened? So I went over. He found out a chicken had hopped over in with the dogs, and they had played with it to death.
Oh.
So Tom yells at the dogs, and they're wagging their tails, and he goes out there, and he threw the chicken out, and we're like trudging back, and we had like $20 invested in these birds by that time. Actually, the chicken hadn't died. Tom had to kill it. And so he said, we should get that chicken and we should process it. I said, okay, let's do that. So I went back and got the chicken, and I went to my house, and I called my farmer wife guru and asked her how to do it. And once you take the feathers off and everything, it looks like chicken in the store. So I made 2 chicken pies. And I wrote a blog, and I wrote in there, I said, around nature, you kind of hear all these things like get your nest egg or pecking order and all these things, how they come from farm illustrations. And I said, once I fixed that chicken and made those chicken pies, I understood she's a tough old bird. It was awful. Anyway, yeah, so we do love it, and the Lord's been so good to give us like this little piece of earth, and we're just really grateful for that. And thank you for having me on. I appreciate that.
Hey, we had fun sharing. Thanks for standing in for JD. He handpicked you, and
Right.
I'll remind him that your bedtime is like what, 9 o'clock.
It's at the latest.
Yeah, yeah. My wife is the same. By 8 o'clock she's out. It's
I'm
gone.
about there. My
And
husband
I'm
fell
just
asleep at 7:30.
yeah. I'm just getting cranked up at 8 o'clock, but it keeps
Oh
going.
my
But
goodness. Well, thank you, and I hope JD's back, and I have to catch you guys up later. So the Lord bless you.
all right, thank you, Pauline.
Bye bye.
Well, Pauline Hylton, JD's hand-picked successor. Well, not really, but anyway, there it is. That is the view she sees from her front porch, sipping her coffee on an autumn day. Folks, it's been a great night here at PJNet Live, and tomorrow night is Friday night. Now, you know what happens on Friday night. Steve Hazards runs the show. So I hope you'll join us for that. Okay? Especially around 10 Eastern. He will pop the top on my perspective and comment. And folks, it's good. Serious, we're almost ready. PJNet.tv, I've been working on it, and we've made a lot of progress. Now, we've hit some obstacles that frankly cannot be overcome. Mobile devices simply do not want to autoplay videos. But don't post a link to it. But if you want to use your mobile device, give it a look. It's not done, okay? It will fix it up a little better. But you can actually use it. If you can go to there with your desktop too, pjnet.tv, and you can be right here, just like you went to. It's just the same. It's the same. It's just different. That's what it said. But anyway, so I have the night off tomorrow night. Steve Hazards will be capably leading. I do just want to say a special thank you to all of you. Things are moving very quickly. It's a little scary. And just thank you for your support, for your confidence, for your participation, and all that you do. So let's wrap it up with 2 questions. Number 1, what is the boldest thing you've ever done for Jesus Christ? Number 2, how long ago was that? The challenge is to never be satisfied with either answer.